Well, hey everybody, and welcome to session number 6 of our crash course on church marketing. We're trying to help pastors understand how all these marketing things can fit together, work together, help us reach people. And today we are talking about these traditional forms of marketing, maybe even old school. What are some of those things?
So when you say traditional, we're thinking radio, television, direct mail, newspaper,
Printed
print,
stuff,
phone calls, invite cards, banners, press releases. Old school, but still very useful.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes we kind of discount, we forget about this stuff. Some churches may only be like, hey, we're experts at old school. But here's the thing, a lot of times the new stuff gets all our attention. It's like, oh, we need to be on social, we need to do stuff. But these forms of traditional advertising really can work well when part of the overall strategy. And I know you're passionate about that, how all the things fit together.
Yeah, I love this idea. We talk about it in marketing class, integrated marketing communications, comprehensive campaigns. And really, when you do use multiple channels of communication that reinforce a single message, that is a huge game changer in terms of people getting it, creating momentum. And so when at all possible, I know every church can't do every communication channel for every campaign, but especially for Easter and Christmas, some of your larger, maybe a capital campaign, maybe you're launching a new building or location, maybe change in ministry, a new multi-site. Think through, how do we leverage all of these communication channels and make them work together? I know we talked about this earlier in the word of mouth episode, but really that is a good picture of, yes, you're going to get the benefit of sending out a direct mail piece. That's awesome. But if you can also have a culture in your church where when people receive that direct mail piece, they now translate that into a digital selfie on Facebook with their family and the direct mail piece. Hey, look what came in the mail today. We love to have you join the Wakefield family at Easter at Summit Park Church. Let us know if you want to come. We'll give you all the information. That's awesome. So anything when you can think about old traditional channels of marketing in new ways and comprehensive ways, it can be a really great aspect.
And this one does. I mean, this one maybe even more so than some of the other ones. When you do this one and have some of these other things, they all work together. This one fans that flame because your people see your church doing this stuff and it reminds them that they should be doing this stuff. And so these traditional forms of marketing, print, all that, billboards. We talked about billboards and what I said. All this stuff, it still works. It irritates me sometimes when I see people and, maybe it's in a Facebook group. They're like, should we do a billboard? And all the comments will be like, no, waste of money, never works, never worked, never works. And that's not true, or else there would never be billboards. They do still work, but we need to use them wisely. And one of the ways we use them wisely is in conjunction with all these other things.
Yep, and I still see churches having highly effective approaches on all of these mediums. I think one of the big tips that we have is be willing to look at these channels of marketing in new ways. Yeah. So there's certainly really creative things churches are doing with billboard campaigns, some that have gone super viral, that are really creative and can be highly effective. So being willing to say, okay, could we look at print, maybe invite cards? One of my favorite Easter invite strategies is taking invite cards, nice invite cards, and doing one invite card per seat, per person, where you say, hey, all you're doing this week is inviting one friend to Easter. So there's all sorts of new ways you can look at these traditional marketing channels.
And those printed things, they really still do work. Yep. And depending on your culture, I would again, I'm a big advocate of just testing stuff. Just don't discount something because it seems old school.
Yep.
In psychology, that's called the recency bias, right? We tend to see things that just happened as more accurate than things that happened a year ago. The recency bias is why whenever you buy a new car, you suddenly see everybody driving it. The same amount of people drove that car before you bought it as after you bought it, but because you bought it, recency bias is like, now I notice it more. Yeah. And we tend in our society, this is just how you are, I am, we're all this way. We tend to overvalue new and undervalue old. We think new is automatically better because we've been conditioned new and improved. Sometimes new's worse. So just because, social media marketing or just because some of the digital ways is what everybody's talking about doesn't mean some of these old school methods won't work. They can work, and they can work great when we pair them with other things.
Yeah, and so you can take a fresh look at these channels. The other tip is to basically, when you see maybe people abandoning a specific channel in mass, that might be your time to jump in.
Smart.
So handwritten notes, right? Maybe people used to get a lot of handwritten notes. Now we get none of them. That's a great opportunity to say, aha, not a lot of people are doing that channel. That's a big open lane for your church to run in because it means a lot because people aren't getting handwritten notes. So look at those older mediums either in new ways or look for opportunities because people have left that channel and now it's just sitting there for you to be used. Maybe you can get some really discounted advertising at movie theaters.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get that on television. Like, so just be willing to think outside like our digital bias.
Yeah.
And especially if you can measure it, test it, get a good opportunity there. It can be a great opportunity for your church.
Yeah, I think so. An action step is I wanted you to talk about this matrix because it's super helpful. So whether you're promoting, maybe you got a big event, maybe it's a series, maybe it's a holiday service or whatever. I think this matrix is a great action step to kind of filter through and think through. Do we need to try some of these old school methods on this thing? Because you outline all the different channels.
Yeah, and so what we've done, we've hooked you up with one of our favorite resources inside CMU, this matrix. You can download it here in this course. When you download it, you'll see an Excel document with about 125 different channels of communications that your church has available. It was one of my favorite tools to make sure I wasn't skipping opportunities and be like, oh, we didn't do apparel.
Always do the same
we forgot.
one, right?
Yeah. So your assignment is basically lead pastor, print this out, get your team together, take one big idea that's upcoming. Maybe it's something coming up in 6 or 9 months. Get your team together and do this as an exercise to be like, okay, we're going to put the big idea is this. Maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's Easter, maybe it's a new ministry, new site. And we're gonna basically take the idea and go down every channel of communication that you have and be like, would it make sense to do this or this or this? And it might really illustrate to your team, oh man, we have way more ways to market this, communicate it than we've been utilizing. And it gets really fun and really creative. And guess what? Your people start to get it because there's multi-channel approach. Your community starts to, you'll hear a lot of people in your community say, I just saw you guys everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, well, because you were everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's our action step for you. Download that resource. I think it's going to be one of your favorites moving forward. Do an exercise like that. And I think it's going to really help you come up with a creative approach for your next big idea.
Yep. All right, we've got one more in the next session. We're going to talk about outreach marketing, kind of going out in community, almost community service as a way to do marketing, kind of mashing up those two things together. I think that'll be good.
Yep. We'll see you guys in that episode.